Ex-Mormonology, episode 23. Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Amy, amyloganlife.com, and I'm your life coach. I get to help you find your amazingness, and watching you step into your magnificence is one of my favorite things. All right, before we dive into this episode, I want to ask you if you've watched our bonus episode yet. You've got to. This is your homework assignment. If you haven't, it's the one right before this called Bonus. James, my fiance, joined me and we had a blast. We had a little wine and we just started talking. So the feedback we've gotten so far has been fun, and there have definitely been lots of requests for more. So be looking for that. Right now, our plan's to do them a couple times a month. So we'll be doing more episodes soon. It's a fun mix of our irreverent side. So you must come hang out with us. Go listen to that episode. Okay, as your coach, I want to talk to you about passive learning and active applying, or active learning, you could call it too. Most of us just consume lots of information. It's very easy to do in our world of social media. So much so, and tell me if you're like this, because I find myself being this way too. For example, I don't read as many books as I used to because I'm constantly just scrolling on my phone. So that's one of the things I'm working on, is reading more actual books, right? But we all have so much information just coming at us so fast. And I, like you, or I should say you, maybe like me, have bookshelves lined with good intentions, meaning you bought lots of books to help you with something, right? But when you read one of those self-help books, do you actually take action on the things that the book is teaching you? Actual active steps towards the self-help that you are striving for. What I want you to do with this podcast is I want to encourage you to put into practice the things that I'm teaching you here, because this is all for you. This is to help you. If you want more one-on-one help, though, hire me as your personal coach, right? So my job is to mirror your brain back to you and show you your blind spots. If you have been working on the same things for years and years, you have blind spots. I have blind spots. Why I have a life coach. So when I say work with me, what that means is hire me as your life coach. I will walk you through everything personally. It's one thing to be listening to this podcast. It's another thing to actually be taking and applying it to your life, right? These tools sound easy and they're not super difficult to hear and for me to teach them to you. I can teach them to you really quickly, but processing them and actually applying them to your life is 100% different. So I guarantee when you work with me, you will have light bulb moment after light bulb moment. Life bulb. Now that's funny. You will have light bulb moment after light bulb moment when you work with me. I promise. So my program's an 8-week course. I'm calling it Ex-Mormonology, so it's easy to remember, just like this podcast. We meet once a week via Zoom, and we just dive into all things your life. You'll love it. I promise. It's fun. This is kind of funny to say, and I say it jokingly, but it's true. If as your life coach, I'm believing every story you tell me, the way you have rehearsed it for years and years and years, right? You've perfected it. You have it on repeat of why so-and-so did this thing to you, and therefore you can't do A, B, and C, or how it has affected you so emotionally you can't move on. I understand that you are believing those stories to be true. I'm no help to you if I just sit there and nod and agree with you. So when you come to me, you're ready. You're ready to dive in. And those are my clients that I am like, yes, we are on board. I'm going to help you. And I do. I help them see it. So just so you know, that's what it's like when you work with me. Now, that's not to say that I don't believe you've had certain circumstances in your life that have been hard and challenging and frustrating and sad, right? But my job is to help you see it differently, to reframe it so you can start to see how the suffering piece of your puzzle is not helping you. And I give you the tools to help you course correct. So there you go. Come work with me. amyloganlife@gmail.com. Send me an email. It doesn't have to be difficult. All right, let's dive into today's episode. I'm calling this Post-Mormon self-confidence. So think to yourself just generally about your life. On a scale from 1 to 10, where is your self-confidence? Does it fluctuate? Sometimes with me, my self-confidence fluctuates depending on the day, right? How is your self-confidence intertwined with the story that you tell about yourself, right? So I've had this story about myself that I'm a quiet, shy, introvert person. I'm smart, but not smart enough, not smart enough to do it right? I'm afraid I'll do it wrong, and so I just don't say anything. I would say that that was the story about me for a long, long time. Probably up into and around the time that I decided to leave the church, right? Because to get to the point where you're leaving the church, you've had to do a lot of work. At least I did. All right. This type of thinking led to years and years of me keeping my mouth shut. Coincidentally, it led to my living in doubt, the doubting phase of my faith crisis for years and years. Because I didn't feel confident enough to voice my voice, right? To say my opinions and my concerns and doubts. I had fear of being shut down, which in fact actually did happen. And I would assume you guys have similar things that happen to you within the context of my Mormon friends and family. Now, right now, I'm just talking specifically about the church. And then, of course, in the Mormon context, I was in it. It was never meant to be mean per se, right? But I felt like if I did voice something that wasn't along the mainstream line of thinking, it was just kind of dismissed. I imagine you know what I mean. I would finally get the courage to say something, and then someone would say, well, we just don't believe that, or we do it differently. Or as one of my close friends said to me, well, you're wrong, right? That feels really good, right? The funny thing about our brains is they're like a body of water. They're like a river or any flowing body of water. It always seeks to go to the lowest level, right? Just automatically. This is what our brains do. They just go to kind of the lowest common denominator of thoughts that you have on track, looping around more often than not. Now, I have plenty of good evidence on my ability as a person to follow through, right? I got good grades. I used to give talks in church. I'm sure some of you have done that. Okay, I graduated from college. I taught high school, so I had to stand up in front of hundreds of 10th graders every single day, right? I have evidence of myself appearing self-confident, and I would say a lot of those things did help me with my self-confidence. Even though I thought, this is the funny thing about teaching high school. I used to think, because I got my first teaching job I think I was 22. I did a year internship at Timpview High School in Provo, Utah. That was very nerve-wracking. But the good thing about that is the kids didn't know that I was a student teacher because it was an internship. I was actually just the teacher. So that kind of helped me through my student teaching. But then I got my next full-time job after I graduated at Payson High School, where I taught. And I'm always wondering if I'm ever going to get any of my past students listening. Okay. Most of my students were Mormon. And I was at Payson High School, for any of you who may vaguely remember me, from 93 to 97. That's when I taught at Payson. Anyway, hello if you're out there. It'd be fun to talk to you again after all these years. I used to stand in front of the classroom and think, someone's going to come in and say, sorry, ma'am, even though probably ma'am isn't the word they'd use at 23, but you're a fraud. You don't know what you're doing. You've been reported and we have to take you out. There are people who are smarter than you and therefore you can no longer teach. Okay. If any of you have ever had to do something where you feel like that imposter syndrome coming on, that's what I felt. I've also started 2 businesses from scratch, and I've even sold both of those businesses. The reason I tell you that is because when I was making the transition go to full-time life coaching versus dabbling in it with my YouTube videos and emailing people back and forth just casually who would email me because of my YouTube videos, I felt all my insecurities come to the surface, right? What will people think of me? Wait, I will charge money for my services. What? People aren't going to like that. What? Right? My sneaky brain tried to get in there and sabotage myself. Even though I had a list of things that I knew I could accomplish. I knew I could do hard things. I knew I could finish tasks I started. But my brain wanted to go back to that space, kind of my default thinking of, but here are all the reasons you can't do this. You can't step into this next career. So my brain and I had to have a talk when I realized my desire to help people and my ability to help people were more important than my fears. I share this all with you because I have no doubt you can come up with a list of many things, just like I did, to prove to me that you're a competent person. If you've lived a few decades or more on this planet, you've had to do things that are hard. You have accomplished things that require a certain level of confidence. But your brain just kind of likes to turn its back on all of those things to stick with the story that you're not confident and you can't really do hard things. Like the accomplishments in your life that require you to actually do things don't really count, right? Like that's what our brain tries to tell us. So, like, well, that was a fluke. I just got lucky, or I stumbled my way through that, right? Our brain starts to kind of use that against us. So, when you have a faith crisis or you're working on rebuilding beliefs after you've stepped away from Mormonism, all of those scary and insecure beliefs start popping up again. Because, first of all, like we've talked about before, you feel like I trusted myself to be in the church and now I'm leaving it. How do I trust myself again? Because you feel very betrayed, right? When you can look at it like this, it's your brain trying to protect you. You get to decide that you're safe and you get to decide to move forward no matter what the issue is you're working on. And this is a very empowering way to see it, right? So, okay, brain, you're trying to keep me safe, or so you think you are. The crazy part about all of this is that when you don't do something, right? So because you're scared or fear has creeped in, you don't do something, you're actually creating ahead of time the exact feeling you don't want to be feeling, right? Where if you took the leap and you did something that you were wanting to do, but you were scared to do it, and then you feel scared, but you're doing it, but you don't do it and you're still feeling fear. That's the point I'm trying to get at. So essentially, you're creating the perfect storm, the perfect looping thoughts to keep you stagnant. And for sure, your confidence takes a hit. Confidence comes from thinking you can do something and then doing it. So, for example, my brain likes to do its thing, tells me I can't really be a coach to help people if I don't have the perfect weight, if I don't look a certain way. If I put myself out there, people will judge me. Okay, so I'm kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier. I had all these thoughts come through my brain. And it's funny because we're like, who are these people? These just people in the world. They're going to have these thoughts. And so therefore, I'm going to stay in my corner where it feels safe. Okay, you get that? Does this happen? Yes, I get judged for sure. It happens. But you know what is even worse than that? By thinking those thoughts, I'm judging myself. Okay, and that is for sure worse than other people judging me. So if I sit quietly in the corner where I like to be because it feels safe, right? I like to be the observer. I miss out on doing the thing that I love, which is helping people feel better and helping you create the life that you want, the life that you love. My favorite thing is helping you find your voice and the confidence to back that up. So if I'm sitting quietly in the corner because I'm too afraid to get out here and put my face behind my voice, I'm help to no one. So the reason this is so multi-layered with those of us who've left the Mormon church is because we have been taught our whole self-worth is dependent upon our worthiness. If you haven't listened to my worthiness episode, I highly recommend you do it. Check it out. It's episode 21 where I talk about my worthiness story and how you can work on building up your worthiness, because it's a huge issue when you've grown up in a church that's constantly making you come in for worthiness interviews. That would be the quick summary of that episode, but I think you'll get a lot out of it. So go make sure you listen to it. How we feel about our worthiness is layered upon our feeling we are good enough, which for sure is connected to our self-confidence. So if you've spent years and decades in the church, it's been drilled into you that you need to be a certain kind of perfect to make it to the celestial kingdom, right? That is 100% going to affect your self-confidence. All of those feelings around worthiness, enoughness, confidence, all hold hands and walk together inside of you. And then your brain creates stories around it all. And lo and behold, you feel terrible about yourself, even if you put on a good front. Okay, so I'm talking to you. I know by all intents and purposes, it looks like you have a good amount of self-confidence. But if deep inside you feel kind of crappy about yourself and you don't have that self-confidence, even if it looks like you do, no wonder this is hard, because your internal dialogue is not matching the front you're putting out into the world. And then that messes with you even more. But when you get really into thought work, you will learn that even the phrase, "this is hard," is just a thought. All right. And I say that because no wonder this is hard, because we've had all of these years of conditioning. But even the fact that this is hard is just a thought. Let that sink in. Mind blown, right? That is a thought. This is what our brains do. It believes what we think. So if you've had years of low self-confidence related to the life in the church, you get to rewrite that narrative. This takes a bit of work, though, because even if you can write beautiful words on paper to retell your story, if you don't believe the new words, you're of course not going to believe the new story. So that's why this takes practice. And this is the kind of thing that I work with my clients on again and again. And I know this is not specific to those people who've left the church. I just feel like we get it extra. You know what I mean? Especially because we've lived years of worthiness interviews. That's going to for sure have a psychological effect on you. And then this is even more multi-layered because the conditioning of society reconfirms it all. Social conditioning tells us that if we achieve certain things in life, it will back up our self-confidence and we'll feel better. We think external achievements will create the feeling we want. We might white knuckle our way through things. We might hustle really hard to get the thing we want in life. The problem with this type of thinking about hustling or white knuckling our way through is it doesn't give us the feeling we think we're going to get on the other side of it, right? So for example, if you drive a certain kind of car or live in a lovely house in a perfect cul-de-sac, or you make a certain amount of money, voila, then you're going to have confidence. All right, that's a false narrative. It doesn't always equal confidence. Okay, this thinking is actually backwards. Getting an external thing does not create the confidence. You have to create the confidence first to get the thing. We all have stories about people who we think they're living the lives we want to be living. They have the money, they have the cars, they have whatever, the degrees framed on the wall behind them where they work, but they're actually self-loathing and live in fear of it all being taken away. So think about that. Things don't equal self-confidence. Achievements don't equal self-confidence. It's always about the journey on the way through. The base thoughts that you have around all of the things we talk about here in Ex-Mormonology, because I'm constantly going to be telling you that your thoughts create your feelings, which create your life, basically. You know that creating something outside of you will not fix or change your core belief. So that's why I'm like, we have to keep pulling it back more and more. And this might be why you keep feeling like you're running around in circles, not getting what you're wanting out of life, because your core beliefs are coming from a negative space, right? If you do not work on those underlying beliefs, now remember, a belief is just a thought you have on repeat. You will not all of a sudden feel more confidence once you've achieved a certain status in life, because what you fundamentally believe about yourself has not changed. So you bring the self-loathing, you bring the low self-esteem right along with you. That's why we know people who seem to have it all, but they're just miserable people, right? You'll start to think that the thing you achieved is a mistake, or that you just got lucky, like I said earlier. Your brain will revert right back to where it was when you get to a different circumstance that you thought would make you feel a certain way. Now, stay with me. I know this starts to get complicated because we think if we change our circumstance, we're going to feel a certain way. Okay, this is true for relationships, for money, for weight. We think like if I'm in the relationship that I want, I'll feel more secure, I'll be more self-confident because I'm in that relationship. But how many people do you know who are in relationships and they're miserable? Because they thought having that boyfriend or girlfriend or wife or partner would fix everything. But deep down, the low self-confidence is there, and it will rise to the surface if the work has not been done to believe you are worthy of a great relationship, right? And then you can blame your partner for creating the misery in your life, and then it goes round and round and round. All right, if you look up the definition of self-confidence, you'll find this: a feeling of trust in one's abilities, qualities, and judgment. Okay, sounds good. We've probably all heard that before. I want to break it down even more because I teach you that your thoughts create your feelings, right? And in turn, contribute to the actions or inactions you take in life around anything. thus contributing to all the results you get in life, in health, in weight, in money, in relationships, and so on. So I'm going to rewrite this definition a little bit. Self-confidence is connected to your thoughts of how you trust yourself in your abilities. If we see that it boils down to our thoughts, it's easier to build from our thought point of view versus the feeling we feel about it, right? If you just feel crappy about yourself and you don't have any self-confidence, how do you build from that negative? But if it's easier to change a thought, and we're going to get to that in a minute, you can change how you feel. Doesn't work the other way. You can create a fake feeling of happiness, but if your default thought is not being happy and being negative all the time, or sad, or whatever that default feeling is for you, you're not going to bust through that. So, side note, this is a way you can see what you're thinking about anything. The next time you find yourself saying, I just feel my husband should not be spending so much time working on fixing his classic car. The I just feel part is you saying, I think he should not be doing that. Okay, you have a manual for how he should be spending his time. Go back to one of my episodes, I talk about the manual. It's huge and life-changing. Go listen to that episode. But this is a really important distinction because we think because we feel something, then we're justified in feeling that. When you can start saying, I think, instead, then you can start to see that you can work on changing the thoughts in your head. It is the thought that is creating the feeling, always. All right, so bring this back into self-confidence. I hope you're staying with me through all of this. It kind of will make your brain exhausted as you kind of rethink self-confidence. So self-confidence comes down to you trusting yourself to do what you will say you will do. You follow through with your plan. The ironic part is we give up self-confidence for the illusion of safety and security, though. Because we think sitting in the corner, being safe, not putting ourselves out there, not risking failing or having someone judge us is going to keep us safe. Okay. So for example, if you decided you wanted to lose 25 pounds, you make a meager attempt, you think you should lose the weight. You stop though, because it's too hard. You complain, you didn't lose the weight, and you blame it on what? You probably start beating yourself up about it. I'm never going to be able to do this. This is too hard. I knew I couldn't do it, right? And then you continue to not feel confident that you can lose the weight. Looping thoughts again, spinning round and round. Your confidence takes a hit because you cannot count on yourself, reconfirming your low self-confidence. If you can't count on yourself, you will feel insecure and at the effect of yourself instead of in charge and in control and self-confident. In this case, the confidence does not come from the weight loss, although that feels really good, but it comes from you not giving up on yourself. It comes from you keeping your word and following through with what you said you were going to do. And the beauty of this is once you start doing this, you can just repeat this scenario again and again. And this is how you build self-confidence. Okay. On the flip side of things, I want to say, newsflash, no one's born with self-confidence. You earn your self-confidence for yourself by keeping your word to yourself. So imagine your world where you did this. You kept your word to yourself. Every time you told yourself you were going to do something, you did it. I want you to imagine how your life would change. So let's put it this way. Self-confidence is a feeling about oneself, right? We're taught that, but it's really a thought. All of our feelings come from what we think. This is 100% true 100% of the time. So how you think about yourself determines your self-confidence. A self-confident person is going to think they are strong and competent, even if they fail. Think about an athlete that you admire. They trust themselves to get up every day, even if they don't feel like it. They put in the time because they decided to do this. So, how is your self-confidence generally? You can add in after you've left the church. It might be interesting for you to even say, while you were in the church and even after the church, right? How do you feel about yourself? What do you think about yourself? I can tell you all day long how great I think you are. You're amazing and beautiful and smart and lovely and all those good things. But if at the end of the day you do not believe those things about yourself, you will be back to retreating to your safe space in the corner, wishing things were different. Do you believe you have the capacity to get what you want in life? So many of the things we want in life are hard. It's so hard, right? Oh, and we like to commiserate with people. It's just so hard. Do you feel like that about your life? About the things you want? Okay, I want you to start saying, so what? So what if it's hard? So what if it's hard? Can you do hard things? Have you done hard things in your past? Here, I'm going to give you some starter thoughts that you can get your brain going. All right. So here are some things, jot them down. Remember, we're doing active participation here. Here are the thoughts. Here are a few to get you going, to get your brain thinking along thoughts that would be helpful to you. I'm a person who's capable of doing hard things. I'm willing to do the work to achieve building my business, losing the weight, finding a partner. I'm open to working out even if I don't feel like it. Fear is no big deal. My potential is limitless. I have my own back. I trust myself to do what I say I'm going to do. Practice those. It takes you thinking on purpose to get to achieve goals that you create for yourself. Do you believe in yourself? How often do you follow through with your word to you? What you think about yourself is what it all boils down to. So let's build off the positive. So for example, find something you have done in your life that you're proud of, that took time and you persevered. Okay, you did that. If you've ever lost weight, you know that you have been the one to do it. No one can do it for you. It can be hard and all-consuming, right? But when you do that, you build the trust in yourself that you did it. It came from the thoughts that you had to create about your ability to do it. If you're a business owner, you're building your business on thoughts that lead to you being successful at it. If you have children, which is super hard, but you've decided that it's important to teach your kiddos to help them become good people, to teach them good things. Okay, not all parents do that. If you graduated from college, you took it one step at a time and you kept at it. Find something you've done in your life that was hard. Can you find what you were thinking that's connected to that? Okay, taking the easy road is just that. It's easy. We can literally do nothing these days. We can do a lot of things just from sitting on our couch and ordering things on a phone, right? Or online. As humans, we would rather take the easy road, and our brain for sure would rather take the easy road. So this week, I want you to think about something that you would feel really good about if you accomplished. What's something that's been on your list and you probably put it on the list in January again, right? New Year's resolution. It's still there. It's only May. We have plenty of time in the year. Yes, we are under a pandemic, but what do you want to feel if you accomplish that goal? And I want you to create the thoughts of that happening now. What do you need to think in order to do that? What do you need to think to stick to it, to trust yourself, to put the time and effort in? Write all of those thoughts down. Get them on paper. I want you to see them. Okay, not what you need to do, right? We all logically know to lose weight, I need to exercise this much, I need to eat this much amount of food, or in my business, I need to have this many clients to make this amount of money, whatever. I'm not talking about the action that you need to take. I'm talking about the thoughts you need to think to help you achieve that goal. What do you need to think? Write it down. When you think that thought, what do you feel? Then begin. When you can create momentum in your life from the thoughts you're thinking, it is going to be so much more helpful in your life. Now, I'm going to give you a little warning. Your old thought patterns are going to pop up. This is too hard. I don't want to. It doesn't really matter if I do this or not. All of those types of thinking, it's going to creep in. Trust yourself to follow through anyway. right? Because you're having the discussion with yourself. I can do hard things. I can do this even though I don't want to right now. Just start. All of this, what we're working on here is building your self-confidence. Your brain will do its thing. So like I said, don't be surprised. Just go, thanks, brain. I see what you're doing, but no thanks. It's important for me to trust myself right now. Then carry on and keep trusting yourself. I know you can do this because you've done it with Mormonism. But what I want you to know about around anyone you admire, pick someone you really admire. Okay. It's that they kept thinking that they can do the thing that they desire that got them to their goal. They were thinking thoughts that drive them in the direction they wanted to go. Can you see how if your mind is full of negative thoughts about how hard something is, that you'll never achieve or get there? Versus I can do hard things even though I don't want to, right? Or the hard part's just part of the journey. I can do it anyway. Or I'm a strong, capable person. Or I am a strong person capable of achieving my goals no matter what. Can you see the difference in your brain? What do you want to feed your brain? What thoughts do you want to feed it? The thoughts you feed it contribute to your self-confidence. Okay? When you are more self-confident, you will set more goals. You'll take more risks. You'll talk to more people. You'll live in your future and not your past, and you will achieve more. All of those things build your self-confidence. Your post-Mormon brain is open and ready for you to fill it with strong, empowering thoughts. You have busted through a difficult paradigm to get out of. What other paradigms can you bust through? All the while building your self-confidence. Okay, I'm going to ask you that one more time. What other paradigms can you bust through, all the while building your self-confidence? Okay, boom. That's a great question. If there has been something in your life you've been wanting to accomplish, but you don't feel like you have the self-confidence, I want you to work on your thoughts around it. All right, that is it for today. Tell me what you're working on to build your self-confidence. And if you need help, for sure, we can spend our time in your coaching with me all around this. All right, you guys, have a gorgeous week, and I'll be back soon.